Good afternoon everybody, and a very warm welcome to Mildenhall and Districts. And my name is Susanna and I live with trains, and today we're going to be playing the container game today. Yep, we're going to be rolling the dice today. The dice is here in the pouch and it's ready to go, so we'll be playing the container game in a little while, and I'm going to show you how this game works and how I've developed it for my layout. So if you have a container terminal or a container yard and you fancy having a bit of a go, just filling your train up randomly just by rolling the dice, then stay tuned and I will show you how I personally play it. And the reason why I decided to go down this route is purely because I do watch a lot of American stuff, more than I do watch English stuff, to be honest. And I find it fascinating the way they do things over there. I always find that there's always something that you can learn over there. And so some of them use JMRI, some of them will use waybills as well. They use all kinds of things. But I also see them using dice. And I was wondering how I could apply it to my layout. And I thought the container yard and the container train is the perfect way to add the dice game to it. Because I was born in an era where, growing up, I used to play a lot of board games, such as Monopoly and a number of other games, and where you just roll the dice, and it was really fun. And you just make your way around the board. And this is kind of like that, really. You're rolling the dice and you're making your way around the yard and you're finding your container, and you're just randomly picking containers at random based on the dice, and then loading up the train until it's full. And as you can see, this is our full train that I've used the dice on. So if you want to stay tuned and watch that, then by all means stick around. And firstly, we're going to show you the layout progress that I've made on the container yards, because there has been a bit of progress that I've made on the yard. And then afterwards I'll show you some pictures of the train arriving into the yard before we play the container game and load the train via the dice. So stay tuned and we'll get on with the video. So we're going to go freehand because that's probably the best way to do it. Now I've shut the shutters down and everything like that just to try and keep it so that the sunlight doesn't bleach the picture. As some of you have seen from my last video, I've been weathering containers. This is the one that I did on the video, and I think that's come out absolutely brilliant now it's dried. This one has also been done, which I really like. And I've also added this man here. This man is waiting for the straddler to load the lorry, and once it has been loaded, he can use the twist locks to lock it all up and then get back in the cab and disappear. Now, as we move along here, I've also weathered some more. I've weathered the PD Ports one and pretty much most of what's here. But in saying that, this one here, the Factor one, was already pre-weathered. The one at the bottom, that one's been pre-weathered. I had a go at doing the Evergreen, doing some more rush streaks, and that seems to have come out really well. And these two, this one here, the Hauppauge and the CMGM, are both actually, these three actually are both pre-weathered. These two came together with Dapol, that's a Hornby, and that's also pre-weathered. I'm not particularly sure what I've actually told you, but just quickly, from the previous video, I've actually done all the bay markings and numbered them all, and done all the all the markings just on here as I understand them. They're probably not correct, but it's about as good as I'm going to get considering the space constraint that I have. I've also added this little man, and there's also a man in the reach stacker. Now I've managed to squeeze him in. Now this little cab here can be moved and slid forwards and backwards. So I slid it right to the front, and it runs on sliders and sits on sliders. And if you carefully twist it, you can actually prise it off, and you can prise this bottom bit off as well to get the man in there. But it is a bit of a tricky job. But he is in there, as you can see, and he's ready to work. As we move down, now there's my other straddler, and I've got some more containers. These two, this one here, the bottom one, and this top one here. But these two here I've actually weathered and experimented with, and I've done so. I'm really pleased with these. So that's another two that I've been weathering up. So the layout is starting to look, well, the container terminal now is looking like it's actually in use. I also added this little man in his little porter cabin. So I had the porter cabin spare, stuck a man in there. And then I've also stuck the wall in. And also I've brought the fencing around here. And then there's another container lorry just coming in there to sign in before going out. And that needs to be added in. So that's a barrier to be added in, which I haven't done as of yet. A quick word on the lorries. I had a subscriber asking me where I got my lorries from because he was having difficulty getting some. And I think he's asked after for some of these scales, which are the actual chassis of them, which is these ones. Now, this one here, this one, the green one, this one here, and this one here, these three here are actually specially made. So if I just push you back, sorry. These are specially made for me by a dear friend of mine who this layout, this container terminal wouldn't look as good as it does without his help, because he's the one who made me these flatbeds. And he also got these Oxford die-cast Scanias and actually repainted them for me into the one livery. And he also repainted this one here into the old Freightliner colour livery. And he also painted this one up in the also in the one livery, but in a different variation of it. And this one here is also an Oxford die-cast, but this is an Oxford die-cast as is. That's how you buy it from Oxford die-cast. This is in the new Freightliner colours, and I've just dropped that on there, like so. I've also had a couple of comments, or quite a few comments actually, on where I got my straddlers, and again, it was made for me by my same friend, who I love these straddlers, and they've both got people in it in the cab as well, and they've actually got some detail inside the cab as well. And so this is the newer one of the two, and the other one, this one came from Warren Lane, and I guess this one probably means more than the other one, but I love the other one equally. I guess it's just because the other one was actually specially made for this layout, whereas this one is actually come from Warren Lane layout, which I love so much, and big inspiration to this layout. So it's great to have both for those two separate reasons. now it's time for the container game, which should be fun. I've never done this before, so as I'm showing you on the camera is my first time doing it, but I've got the idea in my head of how it's going to work. Now, I have been preparing for this, and I've got a number of dice here that I've ordered from eBay. Now, unbeknownst to me, you can get various dice, and I did suspect that you can, and I just wanted to check to see if what I wanted would fit with what I wanted to do. So here is a sort of regular sort of 6-sided dice, although as you can see I did actually black that side out and that side out. I blacked out 2 sides, and because I actually wanted a 4-sided dice and I didn't know whether you could get one, so I blanked out 2 sides, which is the 5 and the 6, and I was actually going to experiment with maybe putting a J for a joker or something like that, and a red cross or something like that on the other one, and those two would create 2 different symbols. Like for example, a joker might be, oh, you can pick one from the other. So I'll explain it to you in a minute how I could have used this one, but I'm not going to, because when I was on eBay I managed to find exactly the dice that I needed for my purpose. So as I showed you earlier, I've marked out all the bays. And not only have I marked out all the bays, but all the skips. And all the skips have a number on them, and they're numbered at the bottom. They've got a tag at the bottom. So that denotes the bay in which they go on. Now, they don't have to go in like position 1, 2, 3 or 4. It just has to go in that bay. And by doing that, it keeps it more random, so when you put it back, you're not putting it back in the same place. So that's how it works. But I have, believe it or not, this is a 20-sided dice. I have a blue one, I also have an orange one, and like I said, it's a 20-sided dice, believe it or not, and it does actually work because I've actually thrown it and tested it, and it does actually work. I also have a 4-sided dice, believe it or not, and here it is. Oh, where is it? There you go. This is a 4-sided dice. And that also works, believe it or not. And I'll show you. So the 4-sided dice equals the height of the container. So I have 4 containers stacked at any one time. And the 20-sided dice will tell you which bay to take the container from. So you use one of the 20-sided dice and the 4-sided dice in conjunction with each other. So you roll in 2 sets of dice. The 20-sided dice will tell you which bay you want the container from, and the 4-sided dice will tell you what the position of the container you need. So 1 being the one at the bottom and 4 being the one at the top. And then all you do is to add an element of randomness to loading the train. You just keep throwing the dice until you load the train. And if at the end, you've still got space for a 20-foot, and you roll a 40-foot or a 45-foot container, that is the end of the game and the train is fully loaded to go. So that is how I envisage the game to work. So let's see if it actually works. So I'm going to use, just for clarity, I'm going to use the orange dice and obviously the 4-sided dice, because this one is just a spare, but because they were so cheap, I think they're only about £2 or £2.70 or something like that on eBay, free postage. Because they're so cheap, I bought a couple just in case I lose one. And like I said, I've still got this 6-sided dice, which I might use, like I said, and still use it as a 4-sided dice, but maybe put J as a joker. So for example, if I roll a 10 and roll a 10 on this dice for the bay and a J on this dice, then I could say, well, maybe I use it as a joker, so I could pick whichever container within that bay I want. And if I throw a 10 and an X, then basically you have to throw again because you can't take any containers from that stack. So you can actually do it like that, which is what I might do, because this is only a foam dice, so you can sort of cross that out and put whatever one you want. So that's something I might try in the future, and it's not a bad shout. So let's get on with the game and let's load the train. This should be fun. So I'm just going to start by throwing the dice and see how we go. We're going to start, let's just show you where we are. We're going to start from right up at the front of the train all the way to the back, and we're just going to throw it in this corner and see what we get. And we get a 1 and a 2 to start. So there you go. So there it is. As you can probably see, it's showing number 1. And that is bay number 2. So that will be right down the bottom, which is basically going to be, if I just show you, it's going to be the brown container there, right at the bottom there. So we're going to take that container and load the train. So there we go. As you can see, it's labelled as number 2. So let's load the train. And there we go. So that's the first one. And that is number 13, is that what it says? Hang on a minute. No, it's number 15, that's what it says. Number 15 and number 4. So that would be the top one on number 15. So we've got this ISO tank here, and that's what that was going to be. Okie dokie. Right. Let's see if I can pull you out a bit. Number 5 and number 1. So number 5 is the Sam Skip, and that one is right down the bottom there. Sam Skip right in the corner. And that will go, and this is a 45-foot one. So our next one, as you can see, let's just show you so you can have a good look. That is number 7 and number 2. So that will be our dream box, which is this one. So as you can see, it just adds that little bit of randomness to the train. And then when the train comes back in, all you have to do is just lift the boxes off and put them in the same spots that it says on the bottom of the tag. Okay, right, so next, roll the dice again. So let's move you down towards the bottom end. And we have number 1 and number 3. So that will be the Freightliner. So we're starting to get this train loaded up. Okay, right. So, next. This is quite fun, this, actually. Number 17 and number 1. So number 17 is going to be the P&O box right in the bottom there. So that's going to be a bit tricky. So here's our P&O box. I actually weathered this one as well. And again, as it says number 17 on it. So that will go onto the train, right down. Oh, the end there. We've got a few more spaces. So we've got a space here for a 20-footer, if we get one, but we have to wait and see now, see what we get. And that is number, what's that I'm saying? Number 9. No, it's number 6, sorry. Yeah, because of the way the dot is. Okay, number 6 and number 4. So number 6 and number 4, so that'll be the top one, that'll be the Malcolm Logistics. Okay, so potentially we've got up to 3 containers that we have. We can actually have 2 containers, or we might just have just the one. Depends what we roll. Number 9 and number 1. Number 9 and number 1. So that's number 9, and it's the P&O Ferry Masters right down here. So there you go. So that's going to be so as you can see, we've pretty much loaded the train just by rolling the dice. Now we need anything between an 11 and a 16 on the 20-sided dice to be able to fill up this train. If not, that's the end, because we haven't got any more spaces, so we'll have to see now. Oh, we got a 14, so we can do it. We can fill the train. That was lucky. 14 and a 3. So that will be the K-line one. Oh no, it won't. Yes, it will be. It will be a K-line one. I know it's a Hyundai. I thought it was a K-line. That's a Hyundai. That was lucky. That was fluky. And we've now totally randomly filled the train. So 66419, he's going to be pulling. Let's go through the containers here. This brown one, which is a weathered one. Got this tanker, Hyundai box, the Samskip 45 foot. These are 220s. That's a 40 there. Then we've got the Bachmann 45 footer on that one. We have a Hornby Freightliner 40 foot. We have a Hornby P&O box 40 foot. We have a Malcolm Logistics 45 foot. And to finish the rake, we have a P&O Ferry Masters 45 foot. So this concludes the end of today's video, and I hope you've enjoyed me playing the container game today by rolling the dice. If you are interested in the dice, I did get the free dice here and the pouch via eBay. And if you do use dice on your layout and you care to share, then by all means put it in the comments down below and let us know how you use dice on your layout. I think it's a great way and a fun way and a different dimension to have fun on the layout. It just really does by using dice. So until the next time, my name is Susanna and I live with trains. Goodbye.